conundrum.
Potentially, I suppose potentially you could do. Theoretically, you probably could do. Probably could do. But I'm sorry, it's very inconvenient for you, Bandy. But it's just the truth.
Well, look, it's not inconvenient for me.
Well,
it's probably more inconvenient for you.
You just said, how convenient. Just kind of like, well, I'm sorry that it's inconvenient for you.
You haven't done it though, have you? You would need to do it and show.
Of course,
show that you weren't able to attract any particles to this mass. Exactly. But you'd also have to calculate in advance what you would expect the force to be. I think so that you knew.
Well, we've got people that could do that.
Yeah.
You know people, Jeff.
Because I think it would be very difficult to generate a meaningful result.
Well, here's one thing you can look at, right? There's a couple of videos of this of astronauts up in the ISS, and what they've done is they've created a little ball of water, right? So whenever they put their object, the hand or whatever it is, near this ball of water, it forms around their hand. What would be causing that?
There you go.
CGI.
There you go, dude.
Probably.
CGI. Well,
if you're going on the ISS, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, exactly. If you were then going to claim CGI, Bandy, you guess what I'm going to ask you next?
Proof of CGI?
Exactly.
I don't know. What are you going to ask? No, I'm just going to make wild accusations here. Because you're making a wild accusation that the ISS is even up there in outer space to start off with.
I haven't accused anybody of anything.
And floating around. Or claim. Sorry, accusation is a little bit of a harsh word.
It's not floating. It's not floating around. It's orbiting. Badly.
And also, it's visible. You can see it doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I can see a light.
Is the claim 100%. That it isn't doing it? Is that reasonable, Bansor? Would you say?
Look, I think the claim that I see a light going over my head about every month or so is a reasonable claim to make because I can see it.
Really, you think?
Yes.
You think in the 21st century, a person living in the West, you think it's acceptable and reasonable for you to go, it's a light?
Well, I live in the South, not the West.
Well, you live in the
economic West.
I know. Is it reasonable? Well, of course it's reasonable.
I don't think that's at all reasonable. I don't think that's even slightly reasonable. Because there is a whole load more information available to you about that object than it's a light. And you know there is, and you're just pretending that all you've got to go on is it's a light. And that's not true.
Well, that's
intellectually dishonest position.
Because actually just saying it's a light also opens up a whole load of questions, doesn't it? It's kind of like, okay, well, what is
he's saying as far as he can verify, guys. Come on, let's be honest.
That's not true. That's not true either, is it? That's not true
as
either.
far as he can personally verify.
No, that's not true. He can personally calculate it.
Could just be a light.
He can personally calculate its speed. As it moves, he can get a telescope and personally verify its shape, its specific shape. He can personally verify seeing video of that object. He can personally verify historical videos of the launches of the things that make up that object. He can personally verify accounts of people who have been to it. It's ridiculous to just say it's a light. That you cannot pretend.
None of those things that you mentioned, Jem, that lovely list that you gave us, would actually verify the fact that it is a supposed spacecraft.
Well, what does verify mean then?
Well, there's lots of.
Are we going to really define verify for the billionth time?
Yes, of course, because none of those things meet your standard of verify. So what would? Of course, you need to define it.
Basically, to demonstrate as being true,
so that we know what's
accurate.
Required.
There you go.
All of these things demonstrate that the advertised account of it is true, don't they? Because they all comport. Okay, so tell me how they don't. Tell me how an astronaut, giving an account of going to the ISS.
Well, I was talking about personal verification, so you've already made a mistake.
The ISS.
Because I'm not talking about other people, talking about personal verification. That's what I said. Please clean your ears out.
I personally hear the accounts of those people. That is my first-hand experience of them giving their account of their experience.
Yeah, we're not talking about verifying their accounts. We're talking about you personally verifying that it's an actual spaceship.
Right, which we do with evidence, like you do for like all of the things you hold to be true, or most of them, you hold to be true because there's a body of evidence supporting them.
You don't know
this is true of this thing. Well, look, I know
Stop making assumptions.
You do the silly flat Earth thing, and you pretend that you need to.
Here we go again with you assuming things about me. Here we go.
You only
just told you to stop that.
I'm just gonna mute you, dude. I won't fuck around.
I'll mute myself. It's all good. I gotta go.
All right.
Pleasure being here.
Just when the conversation was getting interesting and he was pointing out your nonsense.
What? How is it nonsense?
It is going on. I mean, like he said, are we really gonna do this again? Are you gonna start talking about justifying?
We're going to discuss how unreasonable it is to believe things to be true if they're supported by a body of evidence. Go. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Tell me why that's unreasonable.
I'll tell you what's unreasonable. I'll tell you what's unreasonable in my book is to believe anything that comes from the Department of Defense or the government. Period. So, outside of any sources that fall into that category, how can we verify it?
By looking at it. But you're already in unreasonable.
No, that's
sorry,
not
but you are to just say it's the government and what was the other thing you said? Government and what?
The Department of Defense.
The
government and Department of Defense. That all of that has to be rejected out of hand. We're just gonna assume it's all false. That's right. You cannot pretend for a moment.
Has to be verified.
Well, okay, so that's not a reasonable position to hold.
It is.
It's an absurd position to hold.
It's
Brandon.
not.
It is. Well, I'm sorry, but it is.
The government didn't tell me we live in a
How many
global.
intelligence agencies do they have?
Neither did NASA.
I don't know. I don't care.
These are
it's
secret
irrelevant.
organizations.
It's irrelevant.
How do I know what?
How are they relevant to the evidence for the ISS?
Well,
in any way.
Can you see in the ISS
What have secret intelligence agencies got to do with any of the evidence for the ISS?
My point is, they have plenty of organizations whose job it is to keep secrets and lie and misinform. That's their job, literally.
What has any of that got to do with the evidence for the ISS?
Which evidence are you talking about? Because all I see is I look up in the sky. All I can do is look up, and I can see a little thing. I can see its shape. I can see it go overhead. That's it.
Well, that's not it, is it? As I've already discussed.
It really is.
No,
I can't see inside of it. I can't tell what it is.
You can. There's video of inside of it. You can hear accounts of people who've been to it. You can see it being launched. You can see all of these things. To just say, well, government, therefore they're false. You cannot pretend that that's an honest position. It's a completely ridiculous. It's a ridiculous position.
I said it's not to be trusted. It's not a reliable source.
Which is assuming it's false, and you're not even going to consider it in any way. It's ridiculous. It's just another, and you will tie this in, I suppose, with things like, oh, we can't tell the shape of the ground by looking in the sky, and all of these other things that you can come up with. Oh yeah, everything has to abide by Quantum Eraser's 4-step scientific method, and at the end of it, you're left with you have no means of knowing anything. It's all got to be rejected. Well, if you can reject anything from the government and the Department of the Defense, anything that they're connected with in any way is false. All of the sky, anything that happens in the sky, not interested in that in any way. Just going to ignore that completely. All science which doesn't comport to a ridiculous 4-step method purported by a single person on the internet, and nobody else on earth says that this is science, only him, but anything that doesn't comport with what he says is science, that's all thrown out as well. Just forget about it, don't even consider it. And so on. I mean, it's just absurd. Oh, yeah, geodetic surveying, it's not a physical measurement. They need to actually put a ruler to build a structure on the Earth. So all of geodetic surveying, all of that, just out of hand, reject it. It's just
done.
Well, I could probably not. There's probably a load more of these things. But the point is, all you do is come up with very simple ways, one-liners, to reject vast swathes of evidence with no reason to do that whatsoever. I rest my case.
Whatsoever, huh?
Right.
I have no reason to mistrust the government.
Right. So you think that the government has never issued any accurate information whatsoever? All of it has been false.
You are just a master at straw man.
Well, let's see.
It's really amazing.
Well, let's see if your position is reasonable. Would you say that's true?
No,
I suspect
wouldn't say
not.
That everything that they've said.
Okay,
is
so
a lie. No.
what percentage would you say is true and what percentage is false of their entire output on all subjects? All the mundane stuff to do with roads and, waste disposal and, water treatment and all the mundane crap. How much of it, of their total output?
Are we talking about roads and stuff? I can go see
anything
the government,
anything at all that the government is connected with. How much of their total output?
Specifically what we're talking about.
Oh, you want to be specific now? Because you weren't being very specific when you said the government and the Department of Defense, were you?
Actually,
you were being totally unspecific.
Yes, that is my general position is that I don't trust the government. That I verify
so what
anything
percentage?
that they tell us. So even if
Okay,
they tell
so
us some
of the
stuff
things
about
they
some
tell
roads,
us,
they come on the television and they tell us the fucking sun is shining today. Then I would wonder why they're saying that and want to verify it for myself. Yeah, that is my position.
However, my question was, what percentage of their output is false? And
Well,
what
that's an unreasonable question to ask. There's no.
I don't think it is. Why?
That.
Well, I'm not expecting you to have. I'm not going to say to you, well, how did you get to that? What documents did you check? I'm just asking for your feelings on it, your
Any
opinion.
Any number that I make up is going to be wrong, right? So
well, I think it will. I think any number that you present will expose how absurd your position is. Yes.
Which is why you're asking me a ridiculous question like that.
Yes, because this is your position.
No utility whatsoever.
Because this is your position, and you should own it, and you can't.
I think I just owned it and said that if they told me that the sun was shining,
I heard you say
that.
that.
Check for myself.
I heard you say that.
Anything they say is suspect. Yes, Jim.
Right, so you consider it all to be false until you've gone and checked it yourself and found out that it's real.
Yes, I don't.
Right, well, that's an absurd position. That's an absurd position that you have no reason to hold to be true because yes, really, and I'll tell you why. Because during your lifetime, you've experienced mountains of output from the government in terms of statements that they've made, and the vast majority of those will have turned out to be accurate because they're about mundane. Because they're about mundane shit that they don't care about and you don't care about.
Well, we're not talking about mundane shit. First of all, so tell me some
of the lies
that they've told us, Jim. Tell me some of the lies they've told us.
How is that relevant at this point?
Well,
we're talking about.
Your position. Asked me a bunch of questions. Let me answer your position. Tell me some of the lies they've told us.
Well, what does it matter? You just think it's all lies, and that's unreasonable.
Tell me some of them.
I don't care. Right? I don't care.
Do they lie, Jim? Do they lie?
They have done, yeah.
Okay. Then why would you trust them?
Because the government isn't a monolith, is it? It's
so you
not.
trust liars?
It's well, yeah, but there's your switcheroo, isn't it?
It's not a switcheroo.
If you, as a person, repeatedly tell lies, I don't trust you. But the government isn't a person, is it? It's thousands and thousands of people at all different levels, all differently motivated to some extent. So to suggest that they will act and you can treat them as you would, your missus who's been cheating on you, again, is absurd.
No, it's not, because
yes, it is.
Me, from my little house, I don't know all these people, right, Jem? I don't
No,
know
you
all
don't.
these government people.
Of course you
So
don't.
how do I discern which ones are the liars and which ones are the truth tellers?
From your
personal
or on
the internet.
From your personal experience of your life.
And how do I do that from my personal experience?
I'll tell you. Almost everyone that you've ever interacted with ever was honest and wasn't trying to fuck you up. That's how you know that's likely to be true of people who work for the government at all levels.
And how do I pick out the lies?
Well, you look at the evidence.
Oh, there we go. So I have to look at the evidence.
Yes, but you don't want to do that, do you? You don't want to look at the evidence. You don't bother. You say it's from the government. I don't even need to look at the evidence. It's the government.
I didn't
Therefore,
say
it's false.
To look at the evidence.
Yes, you did. That's exactly what you said.
Verify it.
You did say that, Brandon. You said it's from the government or the Department of Defense. I don't believe it. You didn't say.
That's right.
You didn't say. You didn't say I take an extra look. You didn't say I take an extra special look at it and really check that evidence carefully. You just say I reject it because it's from them.
I have to verify it myself, right? I immediately assume that it is likely it's not the truth, and I verify it myself.
Right, but the fact is,
take looking at the evidence and
but that's not true either, is it? Because
it is. It is.
Okay, so what did you do to verify that the ISS exists then? Go ahead.
I have looked at it up in the sky.
Right.
That's about all I can see.
So but further than that, because there's a whole claim made about the ISS. It isn't just there's a thing in the sky, is it? So what did you do to verify those details further?
What else can I verify?
You didn't, did you? That's the point.
Wait, what else would there be about
you aren't going through
it? I can't see in it. Can I see what's going on in that?
You aren't going
through Can I tell what it is from the ground?
You aren't going through a process daily of checking things that the government says. You know you're not. You said that phrase. I rejected, but you said that you rejected stuff from the government and the Department of the Defense, so you can just dismiss all of that sort of evidence in one fell swoop without having to deal with it. That's why you said it. You hold political
honest position.
You hold political positions. You have angles on things. There are times when you would agree with things that your government is doing.
Possibly, I might agree with it, but that doesn't mean that I would trust it.
Well, why would you agree with something that you didn't trust?
Well, even let's say inside of me, I thought Trump, I liked him. I liked what he said. Okay? I liked
there you go.
him and what he stood for, but I didn't trust him. I still knew what he was a part of.
So you heard him say things that you liked, you admired him for saying those things, but you didn't trust him while he was saying them.
Exactly.
How? How can that be true?
Because I don't know what his ulterior motives are.
However, you still find yourself
more important what his actions were and how they impacted me, right?
But the point is, you were trying to use a single phrase to reject mountains of evidence.
Jim,
that's
just based on past experience with these people.
Yeah, but it's not though, is it? It's not based on past experience with these. What people?
We have to go over it again. The government.
Right, but like I say, your past experience of dealing with human beings has not been that they're all trying to rip you off and stitch you up. I don't believe that's true.
All of them, but
very few of them.
Immediately know which ones are and which ones aren't.
Right, but so why would, if your experience is that most of them weren't throughout your entire life, why would your default position now be, I should assume all of them are trying to rip me off?
Because why would I believe them?
Because it's contrary to your experience, isn't it? Most of the time,
No.
people are telling you the truth.
Well, let's say I go with your system, and I just trust them. I know that some of the things they say is going to lie. I trust them. I go along with it. I take it at face value. What's going to happen?
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying you should look at the evidence for things and consider things on the evidence and not just reject them without even looking at the evidence because it's from the government or the Department of the Defense or NASA or because it's a thing in the sky, because it doesn't meet Quantum Eraser's 4-step program or any of those little tricks and little tactics that you have for just rejecting vast swathes of evidence without even considering it.
No, you're putting this motive on me that I don't have. I'm not out to blanket deny things. You guys always think that it's denialism. It's not denialism. It's skepticism.
But Brandon, if just imagine for a moment, hypothetically speaking, this is a hypothetical, that you are incorrect and the Earth is actually spherical.
Okay.
So if the Earth is actually spherical and you are incorrect, then you would have to engage in a process of rejecting the evidence, right? Because the Earth is spherical, you'd be surrounded by evidence that tells you it's spherical, and you've got to find a way of ignoring that evidence. So in the hypothetical, then I think that is a process that a person in that position would engage in. I'm not saying that's, well, I am saying that's true, but I accept that you don't accept that to be true beyond the hypothetical. But I think you would have to do that, right?
No, I don't think so. It's all about what your standard of evidence is, right?
You don't think that we're doing that on this side, that we're coming up with ways to reject evidence that you produce?
No, I think that you guys are coming up with reasons to believe the evidence that they have. I think you guys give them too much trust. Any plausible story you guys accept. I don't think you guys are skeptical enough.
Why would you reject a plausible story if you don't have a specific reason to reject it?
Well, if I'm a liar, what am I going to come up with? A plausible story that no one can verify or validate for themselves.
Right, but again, you're assuming people are liars from the outset, and I don't think.
Yes.
I don't, right,
if somebody's going to call you a liar,
like I say, that's contrary to your life experience.
Yeah.
Most people haven't been liars.
Let's put it another way.
You're not a liar, are you,
that they're
Brandon?
liars. No, that's a wrong. It's an incorrect framing. Okay, that to say, I assume they're liars. I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I'm not going to go out and call them all liars, right? If they came into my house and told me something, I would say, you're a fucking liar. I just wouldn't trust the information that they're giving me, and I wouldn't take it as fact. Yes, they told me this. Yeah, they showed me this, but there's always the possibility that this is bullshit.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have to go to the government to verify whether the ISS is real. There's lots of other sources of information that are nothing related to the government.
My argument isn't that the ISS isn't real.
Yeah, but then again, so that's case.
That's not my argument.
Hold on. So that's the case. Then you're going to have to assume that everybody's lying. Everybody that provides information about the ISS are all lying.
I mean, that's what he's doing.
No.
Exactly.
What did I say? I see the thing up in the sky, right? We all can go out and we can witness this thing go overhead. I'm not denying that there's a real thing up there.
No, but you are finding ways to deny the evidence that supports it wholesale, and I don't think that's a reasonable way to proceed. I don't think it's a good strategy for truth, because I think that truth is going to be derived from evidence.
I mean,
your position seems to be that I should default on trusting the government.
People have actually photographed the ISS and quite close up, and it clearly looks very, very clearly like the ISS. Very, very, very good photography. So then you've got to then say that those people are lying. Somehow they've made it CGI.
It's not about the outside. And no,
Well,
why do you?
that's
Why do
from-
you?
that's
You
from-
guys,
that's
you know
from
what
the
you guys
surface of the
do.
earth, by the way.
You know
That's
what
from
you
the
guys
surface of the
do.
earth. That's
You
from the
come up
surface of
with
the earth.
in your head these ridiculous arguments that no one is saying.
How is
always
photographs
do
ridiculous
this.
arguments?
Always
How?
fucking do this.
How are photographs ridiculous arguments? How is that a ridiculous argument?
See, you're not even being reasonable anymore.
Well, no, I just told you about photographs, right? So how is that a
But I
ridiculous
never
argument?
denied that someone could take a fucking photograph of the thing going overhead.
Well, there you go then.
And that
So
it might
then
be
you,
the
if you-
same
by
shape.
your, going by your logic, then you've got to then say that they're lying as well, and they produce CGI.
No.
Yes, you do.
Why
Because
would I say
you're
that?
saying you're not trusting the information that people are telling you.
I don't need anybody to tell me
Okay.
that. I could go take
So
a picture
explain
of it
to me,
myself,
right? If I find those photographs, what are you going to explain what it is?
Is this guy dumb? Does he not
No, I'm
understand
not
what
dumb.
I'm saying?
No, I'm not dumb at all. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what you're
let me tell you
about.
something. You're not
going by your
understanding
logic.
what I'm saying.
You don't trust anybody
keep
who can
going on
provide
this straw
any
man
information
argument.
about the ISS because you're
You
just
don't
going to reject it
understand
out of
what I'm
hand.
saying.
And this is quite a lot what you guys actually do. You just reject
Okay,
stuff
you
out of
guys,
hand.
you're talking to someone. Go ahead, continue. I'll listen on you.
You got no answer. That's why.
Your question was stupid and malformed.
No, it's not stupid.
It is actually.
How is presenting you with a photograph stupid? How is that a ridiculous argument?
See, there you go again. You're talking to someone else. I don't know who you're
Matt,
talking
to
to.
be
I'm talking
fair-
to
Who else
you,
were having a
dude. I'm talking to
conversation with,
you. You
but
see,
you're
you're
not
just
Matt.
rejecting what I'm saying just out of hand. You just rejected
Matt,
it.
No, I
to be
didn't.
fair, he was never talking about photos in particular, was he? He was talking about how you evaluate or how do you trust the sources of information you have.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. If he's not going to
Yeah,
trust
I
you,
was
then you can't
Specifically
trust
talking
anybody.
about pictures, Matt.
Yeah, and
You're a little bit charitable with him, right?
the ISS was just a sort of an example.
Well, listen, I know that we can take pictures of the ISS. I never said we couldn't. Okay? There is something up there. I'm not denying that there's something that flies overhead and that it has a shape and that you can take a picture of it. But I don't know what's inside that thing. I don't know what that thing really is. I have to trust the videos and what the government tells me it is.
But there you go. You're going back to the government again. You don't have to go to the government to verify everything. There's
Well,
a lot
who
of other
else could-
sources of information to verify things. You
Who
don't
else
have to
can
keep
tell
going to
me
the
what's inside that thing?
government. Oh, fucking hell.
Well, the
Huh?
people who went to it.
Exactly.
Who
the
work for the
witnesses.
government?
Oh, come on.
Well,
Right.
there you go.
Which government? Which government?
But therein is the point, isn't it? That's the point. It's they work for the government, therefore that I should just ignore what they have to say.
Let's go
I'm
through
not,
the logic.
I'm not even
does
going to
that-
consider it because they work for the
No,
government.
no. Let's
So
go through the logic.
therefore, the
If it's a
Russian government are
deception,
lying. the
No!
Chinese
if it's a
government are lying, they're all lying.
deception, if it's a deception, and they're lying about what it is, these people who have been inside and are telling me what it is and work for these people who are lying about it is probably aren't telling me the truth, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But you
I
can't
would think
verify
so.
that.
I can't verify it either way.
No, exactly. So therefore, you were saying, okay, I can't verify they're lying, therefore they're lying. That makes no sense.
No, I can't verify they're lying. Therefore, I'm not going to accept what they're saying as truth.
But why? If what they say comports with other sources of evidence and with your experience, the only reason you have to reject what they have to say is because they work for the government.
Of my experience, does the story they tell us about what's in the ISS comport with?
Well, it doesn't. It isn't just that, is it? Like, for instance, you could easily experience a rocket launch, right? You maybe even have.
You're changing the subject now. We're talking
No,
about
I'm not.
the
That's all
ISS.
part of it, isn't it? That is part of it. It didn't, it got there via rockets. The people who went, who give the accounts of going there, go there via a rocket, right?
So what?
So that's comporting evidence. They say I went there on a rocket. You can go and see that rocket launch. We can see video of that rocket.
I went up there on a rocket. Rockets exist. Therefore, they're telling the truth.
But look, we're going through it step by step, aren't we? So that was a really dishonest little trick that you tried to pull there. Because I'm not saying the only piece of evidence, the person said, I went to the ISS on a rocket, therefore you should believe there's an ISS. I didn't make that argument, and you know I didn't. And
Okay,
it's
go ahead.
a lame
Continue then.
trick to try and pretend that I did.
Was it a trick? Go
yes,
ahead.
it was.
Okay.
So the point is, there's if a person gives an account of being there, there's evidence that you can access that comports with that. And so I think if there's a body of evidence from different sources that comports with what they're saying, and there's no specific reason to disbelieve what they're saying, then I think you should believe what they're saying. I think that's the reasonable position to hold.
When that little girl back in I'll give you an example, in the early 90s, came on television and testified to Congress that the Iraqi soldiers were throwing babies out of incubators on the ground when they invaded Kuwait, and that pissed the entire country off, and we all felt bad for those little babies in the incubators, and we gave the government permission to go over to the Middle East and engage in that war. Should we have believed that little girl? Because she was lying.
Well, for one thing, the idea that you went to war with Iraq because a 9-year-old girl said babies were thrown out of incubators is absurd.
Part of it.
And
It was part of
the
propaganda.
Was it part of it, or was it the reason? Because you just presented it as the reason.
It was one of the reasons they gave the public. Yeah.
I think a very, very minimal part of it.
No, it wasn't.
I can remember vaguely something about incubators, babies in incubators, but that definitely wasn't anywhere near a major or even a significant part in why they went to war with Iraq. That's nonsense.
Let's say it was minor. Let's say it was a minor reason.
The whole weapons inspection thing had been going on for years before that, and was, hotting up, and there was a whole load of stuff going on. So
that was before that, I think.
But
the weapons inspection.
What you have to do is go with what the evidence says, right?
Well, the evidence tells me that this little girl, was Kuwaiti, and Iraq did invade. Right? All the evidence that I have available to me supports her story.
So, right, but how inaccurate was her story? Did Iraqis behave badly towards Kuwaitis when they invaded Kuwait?
The story was totally false.
However, did the Iraqis behave badly towards Kuwaitis when they invaded Kuwait?
The question is whether they threw babies out of incubators.
Well, yes, but we've agreed that that's false. However, did Iraqis treat Kuwaitis badly when they invaded Kuwait?
What's that got to do with the story this girl told?
Because what we're looking for, what I've said is that I would believe something to be true if there's comporting evidence. That would be comporting evidence, right? It wasn't they just believed some 9-year-old girl who wandered into the United Nations out of the blue and said, "Oh, the Iraqis threw babies out." They had good reason to believe. It wasn't just one 9-year-old girl. We saw video of them loading all the crap that they'd nicked off people onto planes to take back to Iraq, right? I mean, we know
then
that.
What's the need?
We know that they imprisoned and executed people and all sorts of things.
What's the need for the story, though? Why make this story up? Why?
Well, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know where that story came from, or what the motivation was for it, or how inaccurate it was.
It was to impact public opinion. That's what it was.
Right, but
it was manipulation.
But from whom? What was the source? You've decided it's the U.S. government, I take it.
It was the U.S. government. Yes, that's.
Well, how do you know that? Where's the paper trail?
Actually, I think the girl was the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter or something like that.
Right. So probably the Kuwaitis were probably motivated, right? They'd had the country taken off them. You think they might have been motivated to try and motivate the USA and other countries into getting involved in a war there?
Point was, this girl told us the story. We had all the reasons to believe her, right? The story was false.
Yeah. Right.
Did we do the right thing by believing her?
Yes.
But it was a lie.
Well, the fact is, one thing we haven't believed her, have we? Because you now know it's a lie. So at some point, this was uncovered. And secondly, it's insignificant in the greater scheme of things, because the general message that she was getting across was that Iraqis are behaving very badly in our country, and they shouldn't be. And that is true, right?
There's always a justification for the lies.
Well, I'm not saying they were right to lie. Of course, they're wrong to lie. They shouldn't lie. However, if you're saying, should we have believed her? And I think at the time, there was probably good reason to believe her.
That's how we get ourselves in sticky situations.
Well,
like
maybe.
I said, they always give us a plausible story, and we decide that, well, there's really no reason not to believe them, so let's believe them, and we'll go along with what they say, and then we find out that it was bullshit.
Well, you have in this one case, haven't you? But this is one case.
Well, you know there's other cases.
You'll probably tell me about the Gulf of Tonkin and a couple of others. But
those are the major ones, yeah.
But they're limited, aren't they? And we see them getting uncovered.
Well, they're only limited in the fact that we only know about so many of them. But there's plenty of government lies out there that have been exposed.
But I don't think it's reasonable to just dismiss everything as a lie from the start and not even consider it. I think you should look at the evidence. And that's what somebody did with that girl who said that. And clearly, the evidence showed that she wasn't telling the truth. But I wonder, actually, how true your story is here, because I'm not sure that you're recounting this entirely accurately at all.
Go look it up.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm not saying you should dismiss the evidence that they provide, but they need to provide.
Well, you did say that, Brandon. That's exactly what you said.
No,
yes, you did. You said government, Department of Defense. It's lies. I'm not even going to discuss it. I consider it to be false.
You can look at the evidence. That's fine. But in many times, the evidence falls short, and you have to take it on faith. That's the part where you stop. Don't take anything on faith, they say.
But what does take it on faith mean? What does that mean?
If there's a chance that they're lying, if there's any possibility that they're lying, then the question has to remain open that they very well could be lying.
Oh, there's always a possibility that anyone's lying about anything. So you leave yourself in a position where I just can't know anything. I'm ignorant of everything because people could be lying. So I just can't make my mind up.
You take it to the ridiculous lengths. Yeah.
Well, that's what you're saying.
Well, what reason do I have to believe?
Where's the limit, brother?
What reason do I have to believe this story?
If this is your epistemology, if these are your rules for knowledge of taking on something to be true, then of course I should follow that through to its logical conclusion, which exposes how illogical it is.
It's not illogical. So, what
how is it not?
Utility would it have for me to believe their story about the ISS?
What utility?
Yeah.
Because
what's going to change in my life whether or not I believe the ISS is right?
Well, because I think that you will navigate reality better if you have a more accurate interpretation of what reality is. I think if your idea of reality is as close to what reality actually is, then I think that's better for you and better for all humans, right?
I should trust what they say because
I didn't say that. I didn't mention the word trust.
Of reality.
I didn't mention the word
but
trust.
That's what it's going to come down to.
How is it?
What it's going to come down to.
How is it? What you're saying? It's advantageous for you to not have an accurate picture of reality. That you should strive. You should strive to never.
Skeptical.
Well, remain skeptical is remain ignorant in your book.
No.
It's I'm not going to make my mind up because somebody could be lying to me. So the jury's out until I can actually experience this personally.
Until I can verify it. Yeah.
Well, what does verify it mean? Because if we take this through, eventually you'll say it means I have to experience it personally.
In the case of the ISS,
And then you'll change, and then you'll
I don't
change.
know what evidence you could show me.
And then when I show you how silly
ISS.
that is, you'll switch the goalposts and you'll say, oh, well,
No,
somebody
we've had
else
this
needs to
conversation
experience
before.
it. I know, and it's always the same with all of you. None of you really know what your rules are on this. So
Well,
you have a special set of rules that you just apply to space and the shape of the Earth, and to nothing else. And it should.
it's not true.
And you know that you're doing that, and
Nope.
it should bother you that you have to do that.
I don't trust them on foreign affairs matters either, or politics.
Please don't put us all in one category, and I don't do these rules. Okay, this is the reality. Rules of reality. If you can show me something that can work the way it explains, in reality, that needs to be different, Jim. And I'm not begging for you to show me like you say all the time. But if you're going to say something exists in reality, then it needs to be shown. That's what we want.
You're just deploying a more crude form of the same tactic that Brandon's deploying. You just heard her say it. Her rule is that nothing is true, no things at all are true, that she selects, of course, as she wants them, but nothing at all is true until someone can demonstrate it to her, but her demands for the demonstration only ever come when she's in a Discord server, in a different country, usually, or probably at least a different location to the people she's demanding it from. So,
what are you talking about, Jim? I'm in
what
the
I'm talking about. What I'm talking
about. I'm demanding it from you.
What I'm talking about. Oh, so what do you think I'm going to do, Stacey? I'm going to jump in my car, nip down to Stacey's house, and do a little demonstration for her to show the Earth spherical. Yeah. You see, the point is, Brandon, Stacey's come up with her absurd and ridiculous way of rejecting all evidence. If it hasn't been someone hasn't delivered it to her, because of course she's entitled to that. As a millennial, you as well, you're entitled to have evidence delivered to you and things demonstrated to you. And if that doesn't occur, those things can be rejected as false.
Have you ever thought about not arguing with constant sophistry and fallacy?
She's actually better at it than you, because she can get rid of it all in one fell swoop, whereas you just did the government and the Department of Defense. And the other things, then you do the sky, and then you do, the 4-step method and all that crap. She just does it all in one fell swoop. Unless you can deliver me a demonstration, it's not true.
You should become a stage actor.
Well, that's the bullshit that is being presented here as a logical strategy for finding truth about reality, when clearly it's ridiculous.
As with any position that you've described of mine or any other flat earther, you've butchered it horribly.
Oh, I just exposed the absurdity of it, is what you mean.
No, you take it to absurdity. You change it. You add the absurdity.
Well, the absurdity is a result of logic. It's a demand of logic, I'm afraid.
Logical conclusion.
Right.
We want logic, and that's wrong? Okay.
I mean, don't respond, Jeremy. Don't respond.
I think it's logical to trust liars. That's just my baseline point.
I think it's logical. I think it's logical to believe evidence. That's my baseline point.
Well, you have to trust them to believe what they're showing you, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to, Jim.
Right. Well, it doesn't, because again,
you just said yes.
No, because but you boiled it all down to it's what they are showing you. All I've got to go on is what they are showing you. That whoever they are, who's they for a start? Let's define.
Talk about who they was. We're talking in this particular. We're talking about.
You said just believe what they are showing you.
We're talking about the ISS.
What did you mean? So who is they? Who specifically is they?
That would be NASA and
Right, so I
anybody
can, but I
affiliated
can
with
see it
ISS.
myself. I can see it myself. Astronomers have taken.
We already made the distinction. I'm not arguing about being able to see it. I'm arguing about what it is.
Right, so it isn't what they are showing me, is it? It's not what they are showing me. It's what I
In the
can
case
see.
of what's
It's
inside
what
of
I
it, can
can
you
see
see
with.
inside of it?
It's what I can. Right, but what reason do I have to believe that any of that is false? No reason at all. Apart from, oh, well, it's the government. And you can't even say it's the government.
If you want to trust them,
Because it's 11 governments.
Jim, I don't understand because I feel like sometimes you do no reasoning at all, and we're the ones doing the reasoning, okay? That's the issue for me.
Okay, well.
Because, you're trusting whatever you're being told. I understand evidence is different than facts.
No, I'm not trusting whatever I've been told. Listen, that's a lie. That's a lie.
You don't have to have anything to back it to prove that peer review. You just believe it because it's from these scientists or whatever that gave you this peer review. Right. We want the substance that backs these peer reviews, and you think it's out of reasoning to want those things. I'm sorry that you don't have that reasoning, but we do.
Yeah, I never said any of that. That's all complete bollocks. I never said that I just trust things. I never said that I don't require reasoning. Never said any. You just made all of that up. I'm not going to respond any further than that because it was just. I didn't even say any of those words. How have I started it?
You've been doing that to me the whole conversation.
So give me an example.
Everything you said, you did that.
Great criticism.
You're right. You didn't say anything that I just said to you right now, but this is what you do to us every day. And you have said these things in the past about peer reviews and stuff and how you do trust them based on whatever reasoning that you have. But I'm not saying you said it now, but everybody in here knows that you have said these things in the past, or you do go down that reasoning.
I use reasoning.
When you said, I'm just going to stay ignorant and I'm not going to believe, I'm going to believe everybody's a liar. And
you haven't got a choice in that, have you?
Hyperbolic ridiculousness.
How have you got a choice, Brandon, if you're going to reject the evidence in the way that you do without even considering it and say, oh, well, I can't verify that, therefore I don't know. That leaves you in a position of I don't know. That means on that particular issue, whatever that particular issue may be, this is important. On that particular issue, it means you are ignorant. You are in a position of ignorance. It's unavoidable.
I know what they say. I know what their claims are, so I'm not ignorant of that. I have chosen to remain skeptical and leave the door open that they are lying. See the difference there?
However, you don't on the particular issue, you do not hold a position on whether it is true or false. That's where you are ignorant. You don't know. There is a fact of reality that, well, what most people would consider to be a fact of reality, a true fact of reality, and you're in a position where you cannot decide if it's a true fact of reality or not. And I think that's a position of ignorance.
I think a lot of people
nearly there, last line, because I can say, I know this to be true, and you can't say that.
At the end of the day, the only reason you can say, I know this to be true, is because you've chosen to trust the evidence that has been provided to you, right?
Yes, and that's important. You said it right. Because I trust the evidence.
That's the difference. You trust the evidence. I don't trust the evidence because of the source.
But again, it comes from multiple sources. So you don't have any reason to reject all of the sources.
When you really look at this multiple source thing,
including comporting with your own personal experience. But you're still prepared to deny it. It's ridiculous.
It comes from the same program.
Brandon, isn't that a genetic fallacy?
My own personal experiences. I don't experience rotation. I don't experience curvature. And I've experienced seeing Chicago from Michigan. So
should you experience? Well, let's take the first of those. Should you?
Because that's what flat earthers do: is we use our experiences, our observations, and reality to prove what we are seeing and what we believe in.
Okay, but should you experience rotation? We'll take the first one. Should you experience it?
You tell me what I should experience. You're the one making the
I
claim.
will. Okay, fine. No, you shouldn't experience it. Your vestibular system isn't capable of detecting the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, I know.
So-
We actually went
so
that
to-
far in depth
so
the other
to-
day.
Hang on,
It's
still
3 degrees
talking.
that we
Still
see the
talking.
field
Hello,
rotation.
hello,
Yeah.
still talking. So your vestibular system isn't capable of detecting the rotation of the Earth. So to draw the conclusion that because you can't detect it, it isn't happening is ridiculous. It's like, closing your eyes and saying, I can't see the person in front of me doesn't exist because I can't see them.
Got a good point to make here. I mean, Stacey, you would say that, if you've never experienced poison ivy and you've been taught to recognize it, you'd probably avoid it. If you went out and you were picking mushrooms, you'd probably avoid blackcaps and things like that if you've been taught to look out for them. You haven't had to eat them yourself or to go and rub against them to work out it's a really fucking bad idea. You've trusted the sources that come. This is why it's a genetic fallacy. Yeah, because if you've got to do everything yourself, we'd all be dead.
A big difference, though. This is why I asked what the utility is of believing that the ISS is what they say it is.
That's a side point, though, isn't it?
Because at the end of the day, whether to trust them or not is going to come down to a risk versus reward decision. Let's say somebody held a gun to my head and said, you have to choose if the ISS is real or not.
Mm.
Or then I'd have a choice to make. Then I'd have to make a choice, right? But I don't have anything prompting me to have to make a choice. There's nothing for me to gain either way.
Cool.
So-
You don't know if hemlock is poisonous. I find that, and you're skeptical about the fact that it may be poisonous or not. You're not adopting a position.
The people
on
who
that.
told me that
But
weren't
the funny
liars,
thing
though.
the funny thing is if you drink hemlock, if you brew it and you ingest
All right,
it,
Shakespeare.
there
come on.
is no cure for it even to this day. You will die.
But
It's a
with the
total false
gun,
equivalency, but okay.
with
They're talking
with the
past...
gun,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, with the gun to the head example, would you just be lying to save your own life?
How do you know
Yeah,
what
because
answer they want?
I can't verify it either way, right?
His point was he doesn't care.
Go
How
ahead,
would
Gary.
you lie? How would you lie to save your own life in that instance? I often hear this in this scenario, and it blows my mind. How would you lie to save your life?
Well, you've got a choice to
Saved my
make.
life. What?
You've got a
Exactly.
choice to make, right? The gun's
Yeah.
to your head.
How are you going to choose what you decide?
Sometimes you just say whatever you have to say to survive.
Moral. The point you're telling what you believe, right?
No.
Or wait,
No.
are you trying to get the correct answer?
I'm saying truth is subjective.
No.
Unfortunately, in the
No,
human
He's got a gun to his
species.
head. It's real or it's not. He's got a gun to his head. He's got to choose. Is it real? Is it not? And he's got to get it right. Is that not the game here?
What if he says he does? What if Brandon says, "I don't know"?
Then
Does he get
he's
popped?
blown away. You choose.
That's sad.
That's the whole
That's
point of
sad.
this. You
Yeah,
don't
fair.
lie. You don't say, "Well, yes, I believe it's real," because that's what they want to hear. You have to get the answer correct, or boom.
Okay. Can you calm down?
So you don't lie to save your own life.
I think I'd say no.
Not in this
Irv.
scenario.
I would say no.
Sorry, I was trying to add to the conversation, but I don't think I did.
You were.
No,
don't worry.
not this time.
You were. You
Not
were.
this time.
You were.
You added
And
words.
Jim,
Mel,
thank you
that-
for the
that's
big
a fact.
announcement. Oh, sorry, honey. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go on, Stacey.
No, I appreciate what you said to me, Jim, about the rotation, blah, blah, and I get it. And I wasn't trying to cut you off, but I've been down this path. We just did it with Biodor, and he was trying to break down the mass of the model and when you should feel it, because he was telling me I shouldn't feel it. So then when should I, based on your model? We did all this, right?
What do you mean, when should you? It moves at a constant rate. There's no point when you should. You would never be able to feel it. But you can, you're saying this now, but I'll bet my bottom dollar in a week's time you'll be saying the same thing. And it doesn't rotate because I can't feel it.
Based on your model and what your model states, if you want to go down that, I should not feel it. Based on what your model states, never said I should.
I think someone did the math, how much force there is. It's about an apple's worth on your hand, the force on your entire body or something. On the equator, and you're not even on the equator. So it's less than that.
Did you feel the car crash before or after you hit the wall?
Anyway, I've been reading about your 9-year-old girl who was 15, actually. And she was put up to it by the, hang on, I did have it, Citizens for a Free Kuwait public relations campaign. And they had hired an American public relations firm called Hill and Knowlton on behalf of the Kuwaiti government. And her story was actually initially corroborated by Amnesty International, who are a pretty reputable and well-known organization. And it sort of stems from what appears to be some truth in that Iraqis looted some hospital equipment. And they're saying that they looted the hospitals of high-tech equipment, ambulances, drugs, and plasma, which resulted in the death of 22 premature babies. This had been previously said by the Kuwaiti health minister in exile. So I think they'd sort of took this story and elaborated on it somewhat. But it was, there was some truth in it, and it was corroborated by Amnesty International. So it wasn't just that everyone just believed the lies of a 15-year-old. There was evidence, good evidence, most reasonable evidence to support what was being said.
Was it a lie or not?
It was a lie, yeah. But was it a lie that babies died as a result of looting of hospital equipment in Iraq, in Kuwait?
Was that the lie, or was it that they threw the babies on the floor?
Well, look, I've agreed that that's a lie, haven't I? Do you want me? Shall I agree that it's a lie again, so that you can avoid
you want to talk about how bad of a lie it is?
Yes, it was a lie. No, Brandon, it was a lie. Brandon, you know the thing the girl said? It was a lie. That was a lie. Now let's talk about the thing that you're trying to avoid talking about, which is it true that Iraqis looted hospital equipment causing the death of children?
I don't know.
I think that is true. I think that people are saying that basically this came out after when the invasion had been repelled, is when they'd started getting access to all these hospitals and different people and stuff. But the information that came out after is that they did loot hospital equipment, and some premature babies did die as a result of that, but not as a result of them throwing babies out of incubators. Just of equipment not being available to treat.
Now, how do you know what to believe, though, now?
Well, because the stuff that's come out afterwards is a result of sort of the world's media getting in on this and, finding out what was true and what wasn't. And if you're going to reject what they have to say about it, well, then you have to reject that it was a lie, because you have them to thank for revealing that it was a lie in the first place.
Right. I'm not rejecting it. I'm just saying when it starts getting down this path and people already, mistrust a lot of media and other things too, and the people that are working with these people, who do you trust?
Oh, like I say, I think you trust the evidence. At the time, the evidence showed that this was occurring. And
So don't trust the evidence. But what is evidence to you? Because
well, the
I
evidence
don't
would
have
be
any
in
evidence
this.
for
The evidence in
a
this
vacuum of
case.
space is existing, like you guys claim you guys have evidence for.
The evidence in this case was her account, which was false. Then the corroboration by Amnesty International, who are a reputable organisation. So that let's see. Hang on, let me just see how they got hold of it. They issued a retraction afterwards. I know that.
If people didn't know how
he-
to verify information, the world will function, Stacy. You can't have a mindset where you don't trust anything.
He accused the Bush administration, the director of Amnesty International, accused the Bush administration of opportunistic manipulation of the international human rights movement. So he says it's the Bushes, but I think it wasn't. I think it was the Kuwaiti government actually and this advertising or publicity PR agency, whatever. But anyway, it's false. It's a lie, but there's some truth in it, isn't there? And
those are the best lies.
Right, but people should, are people wrong to believe something that's partially true? I don't think so. I think there was good evidence to believe that to be true at the time.
Well, this is at the heart of this discussion, isn't it? Brandon, without even looking at the information, has a heuristic based on it being the government and some of their agencies have lied to him in the past, whereas you're willing to look at the evidence that's presented and make a judgment call there. And the important distinction then is who here is being more intellectually lazy? The guy who's not going to look at the evidence at all, or the one who is willing to look at it?
I'm going to look at
And
the
that's the
evidence at all.
distinction, Brandon.
No, it's not. It's not the distinction, because who said I'm not going to look at the evidence at all?
But that's the argument you're making when you're saying
no, it's not.
Come from
it's never been the argument that I'm not going to look at the evidence.
You're
never
saying
said that.
Yeah, but your justification for not necessarily believing these people is because it's come from such an agency. That's the problem.
Yes, that's based on experience.
But that's my
skepticism.
point. That is intellectually lazy, though, isn't it?
It's not, actually.
Of course it is.
No, it's not.
It's just as lazy as saying I'm going to believe it because it has come from NASA.
How the fuck can you be skeptical and a flat earther?
You should.
This is an oxymoron, a skeptical flat earther.
You should think.
Come on,
about that and
Redox.
figure
This
it
is
out.
taking it in another direction, isn't it?
Well, I think for him, this is the direction. He wants to imagine that he is doing, some sort of intellectual analysis here. And that is the crux of it. He
But
thinks
that's the point I'm
he's
making, isn't it,
analyzing.
Redox? If he's got this position where, just by the authority alone, that he's already determined, he's not even going to look at the evidence they present, he, of course, has the more lazy position intellectually. But he won't concede that, or is in the process of not conceding that. I would like to see how he can justify it.
Well, you're steel manning my position, so I don't really.
Well, I'm not
need
steel
to
manning or
respond.
straw manning you.
You are, actually.
How?
Because I never said I wouldn't look at the evidence.
But you already have a preconception, and you're willing to use that alone as a reason to not believe them.
My going-in assumption is that they are not telling me the truth. That's
So
correct.
how could they produce some evidence that you would then go, actually, the government said that. At first I rejected it. Now I accept it to be true. What would that look like? How could they get to a? How could that?
I don't know.
Right, because I think it sounds like you would just reject all evidence because it's from the government.
If there's a room for them to lie or deceive, then yeah, I couldn't trust it, right?
But isn't that true of everything? Apart from
not everything. Like the things that impact my life, that I can verify most of them.
But that's only true of things which are like local to you, right?
Yeah.
On a government or national level, I mean, you have no hope of doing that.
And you don't.
That's true. Yeah,
you don't verify those things. You're just happy with the belief that you are able to if you want to. But you don't actually know that you can, and you don't actually bother to. Right?
I don't.
I think in a lot of cases you
The
don't.
things that impact my life, I do.
In fact, I think that you probably don't at all deliberately. I think some things you verify just through experience of your own life. Like, for instance, the government says it's going to build a new road, and you drive down the road and a new road appears, then you've verified that the government built a new road, right? But I don't think if the government says they're going to build a new road, you go and start looking at their planning application and things like that to check that it's, you know, I just think you wait and see if the road gets built.
Wouldn't really have any reason to do that, right? The road that they're going to build doesn't impact my life. Why would I do that?
Oh, I think a road being built near you does impact your life, right?
When roads get built around you, do you go and look at them or go look at the plans or anything?
This is Britain, mate. We haven't got room to build any more roads here.
And by the way, the road commissions around here are fucking horribly corrupt, so I would be right not to believe anything they say until it happens.
I mean, to make it clear, Brandon, the position isn't that people automatically believe whatever they're told, right? It's this assessment or the way that you're judging or coming to these conclusions that's important. Yeah.
I don't think
it's wrong to say
should...
we automatically believe.
Okay, I agree that it would be wrong to say you guys just automatically believe. However, you think that my level of skepticism is incorrect somehow, which is fine. You don't have to have my level of skepticism.
I don't think
that. But don't act like it's completely illogical.
Oh well, it is completely illogical. I've explained why.
It's not.
But because you're in a position of ignorance on anything that you can't personally experience.
We already went over that. I'm not ignorant. I know what they say. I know what people say is going on and it's going to happen. I just am not willing to say that is happening. That is.
You can't say if something is true or you can't say if something is true or false. That's a position of ignorance on a particular issue.
Why? That's what news. Have you ever read a newspaper article? It says so and so said. This source said. Why do they say that and they don't say this happened, this happened, this happened? Right? Because they let you know what their sources are. You can look at the reliability. They're not just taking people's words for things, right? That's why they write it like that.
What are you talking about? Newspapers.
I'm doing the same thing.
Newspapers.
We can go to the same subject. You and I, Jem. We can talk about the same subject. I'll give you all the same facts that have been put out, all the same information that you gave me. I won't be ignorant of any of that. What we'll differ in is you'll say, yes, that's true, what they're saying, and I'll say, I don't know if that's true.
Right, and therein is your position.
That's not ignorance.
Of course, but I don't know isn't ignorant. How is that? How is the position of I don't know not a position of ignorance?
Well, I know what's said, right?
Right, but you aren't in a position. You can't make any decisions about it. You cannot say this is a true thing about reality or this is a false thing about reality. All you've got is this thing in reality. I don't know.
You can make a decision. I could make a decision if it impacted my life and I had to decide a course of action and I didn't have perfect information. I had to trust the sources of information. I could make a decision.
Right, and
Brandon. There would be trust involved, right?
And I had no doubt that you would do that, and you do that all the time, and that's the point, right? Correct. And that is where your position is inconsistent, isn't it? Because that is what you actually do, but what you claim to do is something different. I don't trust anybody. I'm skeptical on everything until I can personally verify it. But in actual fact, what you're saying is there are situations where I would forgo the personal verification. If I needed to make a decision on this, I would make a decision based on the evidence and forgo that personal verification. I agree. I agree.
Perfect information.
And then you're in agreement with me, aren't you? You're doing what I do.
No, I'm not doing what you do because
that is what I do.
Specifically about the ISS, there is no reason.
We aren't talking specifically
There's no
about the
decision to
ISS.
be made. There's no action to be taken. It's just whether you trust it or not.
Right, but why wait? Why wait for that? Why not just hold a truth position? Why does it have to be? I need it unless I'm about to die or I'm going to starve if I don't know this. I'm just going to say I don't know. Why would you do that?
There is no reason for me to say that I trust them. There's no reason for me to give them that.
Not for you to trust them, but there is a reason for you to reach a conclusion on whether something is true or false.
Whether I say yes, it's true, or no, it's not true. Either way, I'm not going to know. There's no conclusion there. That's just me making a decision on whether to trust them or not.
Yeah, that making a decision is a conclusion.
But why would I need to do that? Why would I want to do that?
Because for the reason I've already said, because I think that it stands to reason that you will more successfully navigate reality if you have a better, a more accurate picture in your mind of what reality actually is.
How would that apply to the ISS, just out of curiosity?
Who knows? Who knows how that could impact your life at some point, right? What if you were to have a child who really, picked up on some of this stuff on TV and really, really wanted to be an astronaut from a very young age and continued to want to be an astronaut all their life? What would you do about that?
Send them to a monastery, obviously.
Right. So what you would have then is, if you're wrong, in the hypothetical situation where you're wrong, you would have a child that could potentially have been an astronaut and gone to a space station, and you actually, well, I'm going to say, talk them out of it would be being kind to you, really, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't do that.
You sent them off to a convent or whatever, so that to get, kick this crazy idea out of their head.
I wouldn't do that, Jim. I don't push my personal beliefs on my kids, at least not consciously.
Well, I'm just trying to come up with a scenario where this could have some sort of impact on your life, and you would, and then you would, that might be a way that you would feel that you needed to make a decision on it. But
I think it's dangerous to start trusting these things, Jim.
But I just
trusting
think
these things and finding reasons to trust them, and then you start trusting everything. And why disbelieve anything? And then we really get into trouble. We really get into trouble.
No, why disbelieve anything? We know why we should disbelieve things if there are reasons to disbelieve it. It's simple. It's not why disbelieve anything, just believe everything. I'm not saying that. But I say believe things that comport with reality, are logical and reasonable, and where you don't have any particular reason to disbelieve them. I think that you do that anyway. You just pretend that you don't for this.
No. Actually, Brandon. I do think I do that. And I think I do that in the case of the ISS.
Brandon,
I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing not to believe what they're saying.
Brandon, what if you believe that the Earth was flat and the existence of ISS would potentially change your mind?
How would it change my mind?
Because of the evidence we get from the ISS.
No, see, it will all come down to you'll have to, again, trust them on what it is and what's happening inside of it.
It isn't just trusting them, is it? You look at the evidence, from different sources, and you see how it comports with each other. It isn't just you present it as blind belief.
Not blind belief.
It has to make sense. It has to add up. It has to all comport with each other. It can't just, and it isn't just one single piece of evidence coming from a single source.
Do you think that if this is a psychological operation, that they're going to put information out willy-nilly and it's not going to make sense? It's not going to be a good story?
I think that, you said you've got a good reason to disbelieve it, but I don't think you have, because what they tell you about it, at least the bits of it that you actually can verify, comport with what they're telling you. So they tell you some stuff, some of it you can actually check and see if it's true, and it turns out that it is, but you still disbelieve the rest of what they tell you about it without any specific reasons to disbelieve it.
The only thing that I can verify on that ISS is what I can see from the ground. That's it.
Right, but that from that you could determine. I mean, at least you could just guess its speed. I mean, you could go to the trouble of measuring it, but just by looking at it, you'd get some idea that it's an object traveling very fast. You could check very easily that it's appearing when it's supposed to appear because it's advertised, right? Where it will be when, so you can get an idea of where, that it is doing at least some of the things that they tell you it's doing. And you could get a telescope and see the shape as well. So
they can't hide what we can see from the ground. Obviously, that the story is going to include what we can see.
But we know. Why though? Why though? Think about it. It doesn't have to, does it? They could have said why. Why? It doesn't
because other people are going to see it.
Right? Why? They could just say we painted it black.
Painted it black.
Yeah, we just painted. We sent the ISS up. We painted this one. We've got this cool new paint. We painted it black. Can't see it from the ground, but it's up there.
Maybe they could say that. Maybe they didn't think of that. I don't know.
Right. So part of the story. So part of the story that they're telling you, you can check, and it turns out that those things that you can check are true. But
which I would expect.
But then the stuff
doesn't tell me anything.
But why would you expect it? We've just decided that you wouldn't have to expect that at all, would you? There's no reason at all for you to expect that. They want to make it easy. They want to make it easy to fake something like this. Why, why have it visible? Why not just paint it a different color and say this is the best color for it to be?
Maybe they couldn't do that for some reason.
Why? What? They can't paint something?
Maybe not. I have no idea. You don't know either.
What reason could there be? They're making it up, Brandon. It doesn't have to comport with any, rules of reality, does it? They're just making it up.
Here, I'll give you a situation. Let's say I was going to put a weapon system up that was going to travel around the Earth, over the Earth. I was going to use it for spying or weapons deployment or whatever. So I launch this thing. I don't want to tell everybody that there's this weapon system that's traveling over them all the time and goes over other countries and can hit these targets and whatnot. So I'm going to make up a story about what that thing is, and that's what I'm going to tell the public and the other people who aren't in the know. So they don't know it's a weapon system.
So the idea is the ISS there's something up there, but it could be something other than what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, the bit that you can verify is as advertised, right?
Yeah, the shape of it.
And you don't have it
looks like what you can see from the ground. The fact that it goes over certain areas. Yes.
The speed of
that. But then you just stop believing them when they say the other stuff that you can't verify. And I don't think you have. But I don't think. But exactly what? I don't think you have a good reason to do that. I think that is literally cherry picking, isn't it? You're going, well, if you couldn't see it, if it was painted black, you'd deny it completely, wouldn't you? You'd say, I can't even see the damn thing.
Yes.
Of course it's on a stage. But because you can see it, you have to accept that part. You've got to. And in fact, in the early days, flat earthers denied it. Flat earthers still deny things like Starlink. I heard somebody denying the other day. So people have denied it, but now it's just got to the stage where you just can't deny that bit. You have to accept that bit to be true.
Well, that's a nice little story and some motives that you've put on me there, but that's not
my
position.
You haven't got a choice, have you?
With anything that we're discussing.
Well, the alternative is complete absurdity. You literally have to deny something that anyone.
Why would I deny something I can see from the ground?
Right, because you can't deny it, can you? You have to accept.
Why would I? You act like I would.
You do, though. You do. You deny it. You deny it's the object that it's said to be.
Yes, I don't know. I don't
right,
deny
so you
it.
do deny
I
it.
don't know what it is.
Why do you deny that, though?
Are we really going to have the whole conversation again?
Well, it just doesn't make sense. Why?
I know it doesn't make sense to you guys. I get
Well,
that.
does it make sense to you?
Yes.
How does it do that?
I'm not going to have the same conversation over again. Scott, were you not here earlier?
No, I wasn't here. Just right here.
But I mean,
Got here?
if you can verify the speed and the height, then you have there's no way to explain that on a flat Earth, right?
Okay, let's say it's going the speed that it is. Let's say it's at the height that it is. Why wouldn't there be a way to explain that?
There's no known technology that can do that over a flat Earth.
If the ISS is doing that, wouldn't that be known technology?
It's doing because they can orbit.
Yeah, I mean, we know the technology behind the ISS, but on a flat Earth, it'd have to be some magical technology to do that.
It's going in a
To
circle.
be
so it can't
magical?
just do
Just
that.
because you don't know about something doesn't mean it's fucking magical.
No, it would have to be something.
We know we can
unheard of.
accelerate things, right? That's not magic.
You're not indefinitely in a circle plane like that. Like,
You don't know
how
what's
would it
going
work?
on up there. You
in
think
the
the
Earth's
government's going to tell
atmosphere.
you everything about up there?
In the Earth's
We don't have
atmosphere
any
as well.
technology
don't
that can
forget.
do that.
You don't know about it, Scott.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what we mean by we don't have any. Like, there's no reason to.
No,
think
no,
that there's
not
any
we don't
technology to
have
do that.
any. You don't know
Oh, well,
about
do
it.
you-
Just like those
do you know
UFOs
that we have some?
that they've been telling us about.
Yeah,
You know
do
those
that we have
UFOs where they
technology that can
say
do that, though?
they deny physics, they deny our we don't have those capabilities.
Do you know
can't
that we
do
have
that kind of
technology that
stuff.
can do that?
Scott, listen to me.
I heard you.
You know
Do
what
you
I'm
know that we
talking
have
about? Those
technology that can do
UFOs
that,
where
though?
they say it denies known physics.
Yeah, it's unclear whether that's true or not. We
So
have no
there are
idea yet.
things out there, right?
Well, we don't know if that's true or not. We just have some.
Oh, there you
eyewitness-
go. Why not? You
Yeah.
saw it on
But
TV.
so do you?
The government
do you
told
know
you
that
about
we
it.
have to? Okay,
You
I
don't
got you.
trust
But let
these
me ask you a
pilots?
question.
You don't trust these
But
Navy
Brandon, let me
guys?
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do you know of technology that could do that?
You don't trust these Navy guys? You don't trust these pilots?
I
who
don't.
are
I just
saying
don't
that they
know
see
what.
this
I don't know what to
stuff,
make of
Scott?
it all. They all say different things.
You
They
don't
have
know what to
different
make of it
experiences.
all, but they told you. They told you what it
Yes.
is. They told you what they saw.
But that's my answer for you. Now, will you answer my question? Do
That's
you know
my
of a technology
answer
that
for
could-
you. That's the one you're
It's not an
arguing
answer.
against. That's
Do
the
you know
one
of a
you're
technology-
arguing against, and the position
Do
you're
you
taking
know
on
of
those
a technology
UFOs.
that could do that?
No, I don't know everything, all the technology the government
So
has.
why do you pretend or assume that there must be one?
I don't assume that there's not. See the difference?
Yeah. Well, except for that means that you don't assume that there's not anything. Fill in the blank.
No, come on now. Be reasonable.
I think that is a reasonable thing to take.
No, it's
what
not.
you're saying.
Scott. It's not.
You're basically saying technology that is essentially, as far as I can tell, magical. You're saying, well, I don't know that it doesn't exist, so yeah, why not?
What do you mean, like that technology that they show us in those UFO videos that they say they don't know?
Those
what it
UFO
is?
videos cannot do this. All that UFO, even if we grant every single one of those things, they could not do this.
But why don't you trust those videos, Scott?
I don't know enough about those things. We'll have to see. It's all the jury's out on those.
But they
But
deny
let's say
physics,
100%. Let's say 100% of them turn out to be true. They still can't do this thing we're talking about. That's how crazy magical this thing is.
I know, but okay, if you want to go by and think that you know all the capabilities that they have,
I just am saying, be
that's fine.
rational, be logical, be.
And you're
use
right.
common
No,
sense.
I am being logical. Here's my logic. Yes, I don't know specifically. I can't name the technology that they're using if that thing is flying over a flat Earth, right? I cannot do that. I also cannot tell you all of the technology that the government has because I am sure many of them are technological secrets. Do you not think the government keeps technological secrets, especially when it comes to weapons program?
You keep alluding.
Which position requires the assumptions?
That's not an assumption. Does the government
let's not forget
protect technology related to weapon systems? Yes or no?
No, you're assuming a technology
I knew you guys couldn't answer.
would allow
No
this.
one had the guts to say yes.
Hey, cocksucker, do you not hear me answering?
No, yes, I hear you asking a question.
Don't do that.
Don't ask questions when I
Don't
ask
say
a
I'm
question.
not doing what I'm doing.
Then answer it. Go ahead.
You have to assume we have the technology to do what we don't know how to do. We don't require this assumption.
Wrong.
We know how to do this. Orbit settles the issue.
By the way, you didn't answer
The
my
ISS
question.
is in orbit. We don't have to make assumptions
You didn't answer my
about
question.
secret unknown technology.
You didn't answer my question.
What is your stupid?
You don't. Now you're going to
irrelevant
act like
question?
you don't know what the question was.
Ask the question again, because I was at the fridge. Go ahead.
Here's the question: does the government protect technological secrets, especially when related to weapons programs?
Yes,
or
for
no?
sure. Then we can break the laws of physics that we know.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
of course
thank
they
you.
do.
And do you know what all of those are?
No.
Curb? No.
And
But
why
none
do
of
you
them?
assume that that includes illogical, unknown propulsion systems that could work up there like this and have been doing so since what, 1999, 98?
Why
Let's
would I
not
assume
forget
that they
Sputnik
don't
1,
have those
1957. So we
Why
had
would I
this
assume that they
technology in
don't have those
1957. 52 years after the Wright brothers, we had this technology. 55, what is it, 50, whatever it is, years after the Wright brothers.
We
We
had
had
the
this
world has
technology.
technology to send
Okay,
satellites
over
up
there in the other block. Send it down,
Every
please.
fucking country, half the
This-
countries.
This is the basic conspiracy theory argument. They have the technology because they have it. And do you think they would tell you? I don't have to provide any evidence for it. They wouldn't tell you that this exists.
The United States
This
and
is-
all of their major enemies have the same technology, so why the fuck would they hide it?
I assume that we have it because I don't know that we don't. That's what's required here.
No,
Ask back
it's the
thinking.
only thing required is to
So wait.
acknowledge that you don't know what they have. That's it.
Okay, but Brandon, you were
That
you were
isn't
just
it.
asked. Yeah, you were asked why is it that it couldn't be the thing that everyone says it is, right? You weren't on board with that, but as
I
soon
remember
as
being
the
asked that,
question,
but okay.
yeah, you kind of were several
Well,
times.
I didn't hear it, so do you want to ask it?
Yeah, why isn't it the thing that everyone says it is?
Why isn't it the thing that everyone says it is?
Yeah,
I don't know.
you
Maybe
want
it is.
you want to introduce all these other probabilities or possibilities or impossibilities, but never once taking on the possibility.
Impossibilities. There, I just said that maybe it is.
Okay,
Your argument's over.
so
But you
then,
don't operate in reality on a maybe it is basis. Let's see you say that in your hangout, on your show. Maybe
Say
the
that all the time about
maybe the
stuff.
ISS is real, guys. Let's discuss whether maybe the ISS is real. You wouldn't last 5 minutes if you said
I
that. on
say
your
I
show.
don't know all the time. People
yeah,
get
but
pissed off at me.
yeah, but
I don't know what you're
saying
talking
I
about.
don't know is not the same as maybe it's real, is it?
Okay, I'll say
You would
that on
be
Monday.
you would be
Just for you,
lynched.
Jim.
You would be lynched if you said that.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, let's see you say it. Say it.
I
You
will.
know,
I'll say it on
and-
Monday.
and don't just say it once. You know, persist with the line of argument for a little while.
I'll make the whole show about it for you, Jim.
Let's see how far you get.
The whole show.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Sure.
You operate in reality as if it's false. You also operate in reality as if this magical government technology actually exists. You have to, because if it isn't
Both
if it isn't as described, then you've got to start deploying your magical technology that you have no reason to believe exists.
No one's
Technology,
invoking
like a
magic.
satellite attached to a balloon, that's not that magical.
Well,
That's
you
pretty
can't
mundane.
you can't explain it. You can't explain it with an orbit. You certainly can't explain it with a balloon because it travels at 17,000 miles an hour. Lemon.
I'm
So
arrogant enough to think I know everything the government has.
you don't have to know everything the government has. You know what we have.
We are nobody.
And that speed is
You know what?
calculated
No, I don't
based
think
off
that.
of
I
the
don't think
ball.
that that's true. I think the government does have, technologies that are, somewhat more advanced than is probably, available commercially for things. But then, they have different role to, most commercial enterprises anyway. But I don't think it's that far ahead. I think it's, a few years at the very most. I don't think they've got some, completely unknown technology that can make an object whiz around the Earth in the atmosphere at 17,000 miles an hour. I think that's preposterous.
Somebody's got some pretty amazing technology.
I don't think you have any good reasons to believe any of that to be true. It's fantasy and it's nonsense.
Fantasy.
Okay, so what specific reasons do you have to believe that thing to be true?
No, see,
I've
that's
seen
what
it.
you
Came out with a Kenalaga.
Believe it to be true. Why do you say believe it to be true? My whole position is I don't know what it is. I don't know what technology they have. That's it.
But it isn't it.
It is.
What's your point?
Because you talk as if it's being faked, as if it's false.
That's
your
my personal opinion. Yeah.
That's your position, right? So
That's my personal opinion.
So you didn't just stop at I don't know, did you? You went on from I don't know to I do know it's false.
Oh, when it really boils down to it, I don't know. I can't prove it, right?
Except on a daily basis, you claim that you do know.
That's because that's my opinion. I'm talking about my.
Right, but that is what's the difference?
Well, there's what you can prove and there's what you think. You have an opinion and you have what you can show, right?
You talk about it as if it is false.
Well, I don't have a smoking gun that shows.
You don't say, oh, well, it may,
I
think it might be false. Do you? You say, oh, well, what? You've never watched an ISS.
Yes, I talk about my opinion.
You've never watched an ISS.
Right. That's true.
You've never watched an ISS video. And right. So your position isn't that you don't know. Your position is that you have a position that you talk about.
Acknowledging that it's my opinion.
Your opinion is your position.
I'm acknowledging that. Yeah.
You can't have two. You can't say, well, my
one and the
position is.
same.
You can't say my position is I don't know, and my position is also I know this is being faked, that it's secret technology. Here's the harnesses. Here's the green screen, but I don't know. They're contradictory positions.
On to me. You just piled me up with a whole bunch of positions. Right
You
there.
say all of that shit. You say they use harnesses.
I think they do, yeah.
There you go. Right.
I think they use a lot of different
onto you.
techniques. I don't have any smoking guns except for that one where the guy drops the screw. That's pretty interesting, but no smoking gun, really.
One that's always heavily edited by flat earthers so that you
Yeah,
can't
the screw
see
that you never see. The screw that you never see. And then when you look at the actual panel, you can see that it's they don't have loose, they don't build stuff with loose screws.
Actually, I
we know you call out, Mike.
frame by frame, and that screw does drop. Let me tell you that.
There's no screw. You don't see a screw, and then you look at that panel. Okay. You can see there's something. The latch that retains it is in the panel. There is no screw in the panel.
No.
So there is a screw loose.
That thing is not always in the panel. That thing is not always in the panel.
Take a screenshot and show me the screw. Take a screenshot and show me the screw.
I have a presentation. I'll dig it up when I get back to my computer. It's very clear that thing was missing from the panel. It was there, then it was missing, then it was back.
I'm gonna pull the video off, but I'll take a screenshot for you since you're not gonna do it.
Well, who says I'm not going to do it? I just said when I get back to my
computer. You can look at the panel that he's removing, and you can see how the fasteners work. They wouldn't design that thing with loose screws that could be dropped. Even if it was a set prop, they wouldn't design it that way.
Do things break?
A retainer is going to break in that way. To retain a simple panel, you don't think they could build a panel with self-retaining fasteners?
When you put something in a hole and that's how you mount it, how is it going to fall out? It's going to fall out of the fucking hole.
You were asked to provide the actual evidence of where the screw is.
I will.
Not where it isn't.
No.
It's been posted in chat already by
whether or
Flashbang.
not it's in the panel. That's what we were talking about.
No, we want to see the screw.
The whole, yeah, it's got to be dropped. Remember, it's got to be on the ground.
No, see, now you're changing it.
Not really.
There's a screw. There's no screw. So
you know I'm right. So now you're gonna fucking
want
twist
evidence
it.
of the screw,
Move
Brandon.
goalposts. That was a nice little goalpost move.
That's
We
not
want
that is
evidence
the
of
goal.
the screw. That's what we've been saying the whole time. Evidence that the screw actually exists.
The fasteners that
you don't
hold the
think it even
panel door in
exists?
place
All right, that
are
one's easy
posted
enough,
in
Andy.
chat.
Yeah, because
by
it's not in the
Flashbird
video.
with a big red
It
arrow
is.
pointing at it.
It is in the video. You can see it before he touches it. Go look at it
touched
frame by frame.
Floor. Is the screw on the floor?
That's a whole different matter.
No, that's the matter. Since the claim is that it drops and that's the sound that you hear.
You can't see the screw on the floor in the video. But you can see that it's not in the
So
panel.
you're asserting a screw that you can't see, but you know it exists.
Yeah, you know it exists. You can see it in the panel, and when he messes with the panel, and it sounds like it drops, and he looks down like he dropped it, you don't see it in the panel anymore. And then after he fucks with it in the corner, it's back in the panel. After he reaches down towards the ground. It's a lot of coincidences. Go watch it frame by frame.
Looks like Flash.
You're the one that said you had the evidence. So
I do.
We'll wait for you. Go ahead, post it.
I told you when I get back to my computer. Chill out.
Well, Brandon, it looks like Flashburn's already put the frame in. It's still in the panel.
I'll show you.
It's not a screw either. It's some type of fastener.
Correct.
It looks like a small latch or fastener.
Yeah, it's a latch.
Somebody's got to screw loose.
So it's a
It's
latch that's a
fixed.
part of the panel that can't come out.
It's fixed to the door.
Great.
Is it one of those that you can push
You
in?
guys go. Hey guys, go look at it frame by frame.
It's
okay?
in the fucking chat. Look at it, Brandon.
That's one.
would like